So Dragon Age Dreadwolf is now Dragon Age the Veilguard. So what's up with that? Why is BioWare making the choice to change the name? I know when anything changes, there can be a lot of fear. What does this represent? What does this mean? Is everything going wrong? Hopefully I can explain to you why I think this is actually a good thing and why this is a very brave thing for the team to do, and it helps set the game up to do even better than it otherwise would have done. Names can take on a lot of momentum, and when a game has been around for a long time, the name that's been kind of floating around can become very attached to the project. But it can be worthwhile to take a step back and think about whether or not that name fits and whether or not it's worthwhile to actually go through the trouble of changing the name. Because changing the name comes with a lot of work. You have to rebrand, you have to re-onboard people onto this new name. So why go to the trouble? I recently did a video about some of the red flags that can exist with names. Let's go through some of those and see if they apply in this case. Is Dragon Age Dreadwolf a bad acronym? Well, it's DAD, but that's not really a problem, so that doesn't seem to be an issue. That's not a thing that's going to trigger you to rename yourself. Is it too long, too complicated? Not at all. It's one word or 3 words if you include the Dragon Age. Is it ownable? Dreadwolf is a portmanteau of Dread and Wolf, so it is not going to be confused with existing words. It's established as something in the Dragon Age franchise, so not a problem there. Doesn't seem to be off tone. So what we're left with is, does it imply something that's inaccurate or is it confusing? As a long-running franchise, Dragon Age is dealing with a lot of potential players for this game. For people who have never played a Dragon Age before, Dragon Age Dreadwolf doesn't imply anything in particular. For people who have been with the franchise for a long period of time, they have enough context to know that each Dragon Age game is different than the one before, has a different protagonist, is continuing the story of the world forward, but through a different lens. Those players are able to look at a name like Dragon Age Dreadwolf and, in some cases, make very accurate predictions as to what is going to be going on in the game. But there's a third player group that might be somewhat confused by this name. If your first and only Dragon Age game was Dragon Age Inquisition, you might be coming in expecting this game to be a direct sequel to Dragon Age Inquisition, with the same protagonist, picking up immediately after the events of Trespasser. And that's not what this game is. This game is set further in the future with a different protagonist, as all of the Dragon Age games have had. So if you come in expecting a direct sequel, and you're looking around and you are thinking, where's my Inquisitor? What's going on here? You don't want that group of people to come into this game and have their expectations missed in such an avoidable way. So what you want to be careful of is that your name isn't implying that this is a direct, instantaneous sequel to Dragon Age Inquisition. Dragon Age Dreadwolf had the potential to be causing that implication. The other implication that you need to think about is that, given that it's called Dreadwolf, you are strongly implying that this game is going to be mostly about Solus, which it isn't. The game contains Solus. Solus has an important role to play, but the game isn't only about Solus. You have to go back as far as this book to get back to a time when the game was just about Solus and didn't have this wider cast of characters. And honestly, looking back, I'm not even entirely sure that that was the case even back in those days. So now you have a title that is arguably misleading in 2 ways. It's overemphasizing the importance of a single character, and it is potentially signaling that this game is something that it isn't in terms of being a direct sequel to Dragon Age Inquisition. The other thing with this game, with Dragon Age the Veilguard, is this game is being very deliberate in its focus on the party, on the companions, on the group of people you gather in order to fight the threats to the world. A name like Dreadwolf doesn't communicate that focus on characters. So when you are looking and thinking, maybe Dragon Age Dreadwolf is carrying some baggage that we don't want, what do we want? Well, what we want is a name that talks about us, about the group, about the fact that this is a game about characters. This is a game about a group of people that are getting together to stop the threats to the world. So a name like the Veilguard is naming that group, is saying this is a group, this is a game about a team, this is a game about characters. Given the deliberateness with which this team has approached its focus on characters, making the companion central to the storytelling, making it about characters, not causes, putting characters first in all of the decision making that it does on this project, it makes a lot of sense to move to a name that also emphasizes characters, that puts a focus on the group, on that cast of companions and Rook that form the center of this game. So at the end of the day, it's amazing that BioWare was willing to take a look at the name for this game, take a step back, and decide that it was worthwhile to re-examine the name, worthwhile to clarify what the game was, worthwhile to put the emphasis back on the team, back on the group, and rename this game, even though it carries a bunch of work with it in order to do so. This was the right call to make for this game. It's impressive to me that this team was willing to go to the effort of doing that. So instead of scaring you, I hope you can see that Dragon Age the Veilguard changing the name is actually a good sign, an amazing sign, a sign that the team is willing to do anything that it takes to give this game the best chance it can. Even something as difficult and relatively unheard of as changing the name. Now that the name is different, now that this game is Dragon Age the Veilguard, the community is of course going to look for ways to shorten it. We might end up with Veilguard or the Veilguard. If I can, I might submit that this could be Dave with this specific spelling and capitalization. But obviously, I don't really get a vote. The abbreviated version of this game is going to be whatever the community decides it's going to be. We are getting closer and closer to this game actually coming out, and I'm getting very excited for everyone to see it because it is really coming together and really getting BioWare back to its character-driven storytelling roots. I'm excited for the next couple of months as you get to see more and more of this game, and we'll go on that journey together to some degree. A special thanks to my members. They provide the resources that this channel needs to keep running. If you're interested in becoming a member, there is a link to that in the description. We have a Patreon as well if you are more comfortable with that. The channel also has merch. This is the High Tea on the High Seas hoodie. If you're interested in picking something up, there will be a tag in this video as well. What do you think about Dragon Age the Veilguard? Does the name evoke more things to you? With Dragon Age Dreadwolf and Dragon Age the Veilguard together, are you starting to figure out what the game might be about? What are you excited about this summer with regards to this game? What are you looking forward to coming out this year, Dragon Age or not? Let's talk about that down in the comments. I will see you again soon. Thank you.